All right, thank you for staying with us. In a sharp twist and turn, in fact, more like a U-turn, the federal government and the presidency yesterday, responded and released a presidential pardon, a reviewed pardon list, actually. You remember last week, there was uproar about some release, actually, of some convicts, actually, some persons that are being sentenced by the court. Chief among them is Maryam Sanda, who was convicted and sentenced to death by hanging, culpable homicide, because she killed her husband in 2017. And of course, a kidnapper, a certain Kelvin, has a commutation as well, was pardoned as well. And many drug peddlers were forgiven, pardoned by that act of the federal government. One of them is the man on your screen, Farouk Lawal, actually, who was sentenced for fraud, bribery, related offenses, and 6 years. He has served, talking about Farouk Lawan, he has served in sentence, but then he was pronounced forgiven, pardoned by the previous, that pronouncement. And what it means that for Farouk Lawan, it means he has a clean slate. It means he will never be regarded as an ex-convict in Nigeria. It means he has a clean slate. And some persons have said one day, maybe even in 2027, might just pick up a nomination form, a ticket of a party, and run for office again, because that's the implication of him being pardoned by the governor. Many persons with gruesome, offenses were pardoned. And when the public was shouting and crying and all of those things, the Office of the Attorney General released a statement and said, no, that list, it's still being reviewed, actually. And the last stage of the pardon was that review stage. And some are saying, wait a minute, don't spoon feed us. Is that what it looks like? There is a committee that works on a pardon list, that take, recommendations from many places, and they come, they look at it. That's the way it's supposed to be, not just an individual. And when they come like that, the list is compiled, sent to the various desks, and then is presented to the Council of State. The Council of State ratified it. There was a statement from the presidency released by themselves from the villa that said, this is the list of the pardoned persons. And then we saw it, and then it was approved. And later, we learned, the Attorney General said, oh, it's going through the last stage. And some is saying, what are you telling us? Is this really how it works? In law, we asked lawyers at that time, and they said, that's not the way. The moment it goes to the Council of State, the moment it's ratified, the list is just dispensed to the various correctional centers for those persons to be released. And I remember the Attorney General's office said no persons has been released because it was going under review. Yesterday, another pronouncement was made, especially by the man who speaks for the president, Bayo Ononuga. State House press release, President Tinubu signs instrument of clemency and pardons, moves Secretariat of Prerogative of Mercy Committee to Justice Ministry. And I just read out part of what Mr. Ononuga said on behalf of the president. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, has executed the relevant instrument of release to complete the process of formally exercising his constitutional power or prerogative of mercy to grant pardon and clemency to specific individuals who were earlier convicted for various offenses. And following consultations with Council of State and public opinion on the matter, the president directed a further review of the initially approved list for consideration in furtherance of the president's discretionary powers under Section 175, Section 1 and Subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Consequently, certain persons convicted of serious crimes such as kidnapping, drug-related offenses, human trafficking, fraud, unlawful possession of firearms, arms dealing, etc. were deleted from the list. Others who had been hitherto pardoned in the old list had their sentences commuted. And they added that this action became necessary In view of the seriousness and security implications of some of the offenses, the need to be sensitive to the feelings of the victims of the crimes and society in general, the need to boost the morale of law enforcement agencies and adherence to bilateral obligations, the concept of justice as a three-way traffic for the accused, for the victim, and the state society also guided the review. The approved list of eligible beneficiaries has been transmitted to the Nigerian Correctional Service for implementation in line with the duly signed instruments of release. And here we are. That is the latest as of this morning. We have been joined by public affairs analyst, a media practitioner of note, and of course a lawyer, Barrister Dapo Ogunwusi, joins us virtually. Barrister, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you very much. And here we are. This is what we have as of last night, a review, comprehensive review of the previous list, and the presidency, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, on behalf of the president, has reeled out the reasons for the review, the decisions that have been made, the pardon that has been, reviewed to commutation, and all of those things. What is your impression of this latest development?
Well, I think we should be grateful that you remember a musician who said his hair had been cut off and that he would not listen to anybody. So it seems to me that the government's hair has been plucked back where it belonged. Because it's uncharacteristic of them to say, they are, changing their mind on something that Tinubu had signed. What Fagbemi was saying is an embarrassment. And he should be careful. He just goes on to say anything he likes and believes people have no choice than to accept and agree with him. It is disgusting, to say the least. The entire process was observed. The release came from the office of the president.
Right.
So the idea of a review or having to make a review is anathema. But we thank God that at least they have retraced their steps and changed their minds on some of the mind-boggling decisions. Look, people alleged a lot of things about the president. And they insisted that, look, this list seems to have a definite pattern. 30%, 29.4% were for drug-related offenses, drug barons. But at least, whether we like it or not, I think it is people power that has triumphed. And we should wish them more of that. They should listen more frequently to what people have to say. And they wouldn't have much trouble. Because they had run the country up to late, like the government goes in a different direction and the people go in a different direction. They just do anything they like. And they have people in the media who are sworn to defend them no matter what they do. They were talking of genocide, and you see how people writing that, look, there was no genocide. I was shocked. When even the president himself was complaining about genocide 10 years ago in his other life. I mean, how do people carry on like that, like everybody is an idiot? So I thank God that they have finally found their ear that had been cut off, that they at least listen to people. And that's a very good sign. And I hope they will keep it up.
All right.
It's a very good development.
Quite lyrical of you, sir, to remember the Afrobeat musician Ashake who sang that particular line, actually. But then, moving on, there is a part of this release from Mr. Bayo Onanuga himself now, who said, following consultations with Council of State and public opinion on the matter, the president directed a further review of the initially approved list. And now, certain persons convicted of serious crimes such as kidnapping, drug-related offenses, human trafficking, fraud, unlawful possession of firearms dealing were deleted from the list. The question is this: the previous list, we were told, was ratified by the same Council of State, and they are now talking about Mr. Bayo Onanuga yesterday saying following consultation with the Council of State. Does that mean the previous list didn't go through the normal process? Does that mean the Council of State didn't see it? What consultation are they talking about again right now?
Yes,
I don't understand.
It certainly did. Look, I like to relate a story told me by the late President Shehu Shagari. He said during the regime, one of the governments that came well after him, that the president invited, the Council of State for a meeting and started saying, and we did this, we did that. We did this, we did that. We did it. And then he said, look, if all you have brought us here to say is that you have done everything, you only needed to give a copy of this statement to the Postmaster General so that they will bring it to us. But if we are to deliberate, it's a different thing. So I have a belief that sometimes the Council of State is not fit for purpose.
Really? Because
they should have taken time to look at the list on their own if they had some kind of constitutional responsibility to the country. That look, this list is full of drug people. And it is tendentious. And I believe these are eminent people who have gone through a lot, who have seen power before. So it then means that maybe the Council of State is not fit for purpose because they should have discovered some of these pitfalls. And that is the whole idea of consultation. They didn't have to wait until people like you and me started showing them that almost half of these people are drug barons.
I'd like to ask you, yes. Barrister, what exactly do they do at the Council of State? I'd like to know.
Yes, first of all, the Council of State is a constitutional provision. It's a mixture of certain serving and former president and even former officers of the state. They believe that it's a good mix of experience and patriotism, that these people will be able to assist the extant government on important decisions. And those decisions are specified. One of them is the exercise of prerogative of mercy. But you see, when you are carrying out, that kind of device, people can manipulate things. They will give them the agenda on the day of the meeting. And these are fairly elderly people who have come from very far. So they will make them feel comfortable in Nikon, and then they give them the list when the meeting starts. So I think it's easy to manipulate a body like that, except it's made up of very serious-minded people.
So you are saying
some people will not attend.
So you are saying most likely, if that is the situation, that is when they come, that they see this memo and all of those things, proper vettings can never be done in that way.
Exactly. That is the point.
And then they will say the Council of State has sat on it, and that's all.
As advised on it. And then you see there are some critical members. Like when Buhari was in the Council of State before he became president, he never attended for once, which was extremely unpatriotic of him. We needed people who can raise a voice. That's why they are there. And I suspect very strongly that Obasanjo probably has not been attending the Tinubu ones. So it's head you lose, tail you lose for Nigeria.
All right. Now, on this new list that will be released that you have on your screen shortly, a statement, one of those statements said, in exercise of the powers conferred upon me by Section 175 of the Constitution, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, and of all other powers enabling me in that behalf, I, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, hereby commute the death sentence of the following persons to life imprisonment: Emmanuel Baba Abubakar Usman Khalifa Umar Mohammed Umar, persons whose death sentences are commuted to life imprisonment. Then you have the matter of Maryam Sanda, quite a popular or notorious one, actually, in which there you go, you have a picture and the late husband on your screen right now, where it happened in 2017, domestic violence turned, fatal, and she was sentenced to death in 2020. She has served more than 6 years. She was totally pardoned to be released before by the previous list. It has been reviewed right now, and she has been given 12 years, meaning less than 6 years to go for her, not total release. Do you think this will assuage in this Maryam Sanda? Because many Nigerians, especially men, have been angry to say, what's happening? She was released because she was a mother. She had 2 children. Let her go and be a mother. She has shown remorse. She has been of good conduct. Do you think this will assuage that feeling, especially based on this review, to say she has not been released just like that? She still has 6 years to go in her case.
Yeah, basically, it is no longer fashionable to sentence people to death. And I think that is the thinking in Nigeria. It is the power of the governor to approve executions. And most of the governors in Nigeria today do not do that. That is why this woman has been in jail for 6 years, after being 5 years after being sentenced. And I think 12 years is a fairly long time. So, look, in other countries, they'll probably jail her for 7, 8, 9 years. They will even be telling you, like in the UK, they will tell you they don't have space in their jails. So there are some people that you just sentence them to community service or stuff like that. I believe that 12 years is still not a bad option, to be honest. And that is my own standard philosophy about capital punishment. And it is only in the worst exceptions that one may think, look, this person should not be living, especially when you know there are chances that the person would not be recovered as a decent person or a decent character. So such a person has to be destroyed. Besides that, like for example, if you are taking part in the killing of children and burning of whole families in Boko Haram, I don't see why anybody should think of giving you a pardon.
All right. Now, there was this case of, I mentioned it earlier, of Farouk Lawan, a very vocal voice while he was in the house, quite a petite structured man, but with the tiny voice, but quite vocal. And then, he was involved, convicted by the court of bribery and corruption and all of those things. 6 years. He has served his term, and the state has pardoned him after serving his time. What do you think on that particular case? Because it means, I've asked lawyers, they say what it means is the man has never offended in the eye of the law, and in fact, the man can sue you if you call him an ex-convict. That means he has a clean bill of health as far as crime is concerned in Nigeria. What does that do to people serving in public office?
If you are looking at how the law looks at him, it's not the way you have put it.
Okay.
The fact that he went to jail remains a fact of history. But the point is, he has been pardoned of all the residual impact or circumstances of the imprisonment or of the conviction. It cannot be counted against him for anything else in future. And to be honest, look, ask yourself. Farouk was saying, I know the guy, pint-sized fellow, maybe less than 5 feet tall. Farouk was sentenced for taking, how much? Was it $300,000 or something like that? Ask yourself, is there anybody in the National Assembly who's not doing that? I mean, I think it makes sense within their system that, look, how much did this guy collect? We all do better than that every day. I mean, the president wanted the national anthem to be changed overnight and in 24 hours. The two houses had met and approved it. Why people continue to suffer in the country? Why there was a lot of anguish? That was the one they had time for. So what do you think envisages, actions like that? because they just patted them in the back and smiled at them, right? No, there's a lot of dishonesty in the political firmament. So if one thief catches another thief and then decides to set the previous thief free and all of that, it has a rhythm.
All right. Now, I'm asking, as far as people in public service now are concerned, because they could say, all I have to steal, which is bad, by the way, by our standard, is still in billions, in millions of dollars, and in 5-6 years, I could be pardoned, and I'm good. What does that do to the psyche of people and young people watching, Barrister, to know that in Nigeria, just steal a lot, and then you stand a good chance of being forgiven? Don't you see it that way?
Yeah, it is beginning to look like every crime is no longer a crime in Nigeria.
Exactly my point.
From theft to robbery to drug courier to... I think the idea of stealing from the public till is actually high fashion. It's not like, it's not something so despicable in the minds of people. In fact, I think the exception would be if you do not steal. That's going to be a very ugly and distinctive exception.
And that's reminiscent of a dysfunctional society, isn't it?
Of course. Of course.
All right.
Somebody ask you, they say somebody forged, and they say, has it become an offense again?
Just forgery. All right. Barrister, let's look at it this way. Now, we learned, according to this latest development, that people involved with firearms, high crimes, drug peddlers, all of them have been deleted from that list. The question is, who put them there in the first place? And hear me, this is what I mean. When they know, because there is an analogy around here, especially in the southwestern part, that somebody that is wicked, he knows. He's only looking for somebody to tell him, actually, you know all of these things are terrible. Did they just put it there to test the waters and see the reaction of Nigerians? Or number two, there are allegations of smuggling. Some have been saying some names were smuggled from different, agencies of the government. That's number two. Number three, one of the development now is that the coordination of this presidential pardon list and all of these things should be taken away from the Ministry of Special Duties back to the Office of the Attorney General. And some are saying, is the Office of the Attorney General not the last office to even sit on it? Why are they making it to look like they are saving the face of the Attorney General? Do you see it that way?
No, it's much worse than that. Even the Attorney General is in the mix. He had been telling bogus lies.
Lies? How do
he said they had not actually been pardoned. How? For God's sake, the president signed it.
He said it was under review.
That it was under review. How can you review something that you should just come clean to say that the list was defective and it's been reviewed? That is humbler. That is more decent than to try to pull wool over the eyes of people. Now, if the problem is the structure itself, like whether people padded the list and so on and so forth, no, you can't think like that. You cannot think like the moment you sign something, and Bola Tinubu said you should hold him responsible, that he was the one who asked for the job. So you can't come around and start to give that kind of allocutus for people. That somebody padded it when he was sleeping, or something, sad like that. No, you can't be thinking like that. That is why he is president. It is his duty to go through all of these things. Then apart from going to France, what other things does he really do? That he will not be able to read a list of just over 100 people.
That's why, Barrister, that's why he asked the AGF to advise him on this matter.
It is not important. That is his own internal system The fact is that the moment it is signed by the president, it has become an executive order. It is part of our laws.
And it wasn't even a leaked memo. It was the Villa who released that list in the first place.
They released it officially, and then people are still afraid. That how do we even know that they are still not? Because you see, there is no prescription to publish. The law did not say the president must release, a name, and must release names of those who have been pardoned. No. They could simply have done it quietly and nobody would know. It's only those people who find themselves at home.
So what does that do to public perception of this administration? Because we've seen instances in the last 2 years in which maybe some appointments were made, and when people vet the list and they see, oh, this person is dead, or maybe this person still has an appointment somewhere, then you get to see some, withdrawal of some list, and then, bringing out of another one. And now we have seen this one on a very large scale that has to do with public perception and law. Do you think this is one of those things, or it's a letdown? Do you think that has to do with coordination under this administration? Maybe there is a desk that is missing in coordinating things that come out in the public from the federal level.
I think there were times in the past too when somebody would be appointed and he would say no, and nobody told him he was going to be appointed and that he has not accepted to serve. It happened frequently during, it happened in Jonathan, it happened also under Buhari. Maybe the DSS or the protocol department is, fails in its duties. Then they said they screened all the ministerial nominees and so on. But half of them were people who had EFCC cases, people who should actually be in detention. And they are all in public offices today. So you then ask yourself, what screening did they really carry out? So I think they choose the kind of system that is suitable, that is suited to them. It's not like people try to invade their peace by bringing in all kinds of dishonest things, underhand and all of that. No. I don't think there's any government that functions like that. Like when they were talking of pardon by the National Assembly, and then at the end of the day, the president still went ahead to sign it.
All right, Barrister.
What kind of drama is this?
my last question for you this morning is this: the concept of pardon itself in Nigeria. Some persons have said, let's scratch it, because they talk about deterrence. It doesn't help in deterrence, actually, in Nigeria, because there are some persons that will certainly do some things, but because they know there is deterrence, they don't want to go to prison, they don't want to be killed, they'd rather not do it. But now that they know that, if you do these things, or if you lose caution, or if you get angry and you kill somebody, you might have another chance at life, and the person you have killed is gone. Should we review it or scratch it, or how do we handle it so that we won't be in this same situation again? In 1 minute.
Yeah, no two cases are the same. Every lawyer will tell you that.
Yeah.
And in some of these cases, there are deep philosophical issues. There was one famous case in which a woman poisoned the husband and 2 children. There were still 2 other children who did not take part in that dinner. And the judge decided to use his discretion by sending the woman to jail rather than to the gallows. And you know the consideration, which was not in the record.
What?
The consideration was that those 2 children lost their siblings, they lost their father. And they were about to lose the only relation they had on earth. So considerations like that cannot be, wished away in the human setup.
Right.
And I don't think we should scratch it at all. The problem is making judicious use of that kind of device.
All right.
I think that's what I think we should try and adopt a fulcrum for making sure that there's a high level of, look, a lot of people who are wrongly, punished in the past. Jesus Christ was wrongly punished. Even the judge said there was no offense in him. The same thing happened to Socrates. There was not even a judge, it was just the people. So all of these things, it's okay to have some kind of, facility for review if it will be exercised judiciously.
All right. Point noted. Public affairs analyst and lawyer, Barrister Dapo Ogunwusi. Thank you for your time and your take on these national issues.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right. We take a quick break right now. And of course, when we return, we speak to another guest to look into other angles of this conversation, where the federal government, through the office of the president, has reviewed the previous, pardoned persons list, and now there is a new development. Stay with us.